Days before heading off on Regent's newest ship, the Grandeur, the line launched new advertising promising that nobody does it better. In it, they also claim to have the world's most luxurious fleet and that no cruise line beats them on destination experiences, hospitality, luxury spaces, or dining. Now, having been on Regent before, while I found them fantastic and great, I didn't think they'd beat every line. So this latest trip turned into the perfect opportunity to really test out if Regent now does cruising better than everybody else as they promise. Welcome aboard, I'm Gary Bembridge and this is what I found. And as always, to offer an unbiased review, I booked and paid for this trip myself like every other cruise I go on. First of all, a quick reminder of who and what Regent Seven Seas is. Regent is an ultra-luxury line owned by Norwegian Cruise Line Group, and their main competition is Silver Sea, Seabourn and Crystal. They have 6 ships in service. I've been on 3 of them, and a new larger class of ship called Prestige is coming in 2026. I'm going to look at what they did well, they do the same as others, and what they did not do that well. And finally, whether I found they do cruising better than everybody else these days. Without a shadow of a doubt, the one thing they do well are the ships and the decor. All the ships look and feel luxurious with high quality furnishings, fixtures, artwork, and even the tiles and toiletries that they use. They are a really great design and layout. All existing ships except for Navigator have a broadly similar layout. Grandeur is the most spectacular of all. I thought it would be helpful to share with you the layout and main venues on Grandeur to show you why I think their ships are great. I'll start at the top of the ship and work my way down. Now on deck 12 is a sports deck with crazy golf, deck games, paddleboard court and seating for the upper level of the pool deck. Deck 11 has many of the key public areas. In the front of the ship is the Constellation Lounge overlooking the bow. There's a very large, well-stocked library, a card room, connoisseur club for smoking and cigars, and one of their signatures, the Culinary Arts Kitchen, where they run cookery classes. Also on this deck is the pool bar, and the pool grill, and La Veranda, which is the buffet restaurant, which turns into a specialty restaurant at night. And I'm going to dive more into the good and bad about dining later. On deck 10 are 2 of the specialty restaurants, Prime 7 and Chartreuse. The next of the public areas are right down on deck 5. Here is the upper level of the Constellation Theatre, a large open area with concierge, reception, excursion, future cruise sales and perspectives photography studio where you can book personal photo shoots. Also on this deck is the fabulous Coffee Connections for coffees and snacks, an area to do puzzles, and the Meridian Lounge, where afternoon tea and some of the entertainment is actually run. At the rear of the ship on this deck is a serene spa with a gym above that on level 6. There's also a fantastic rear spa deck, open to all, but which actually few people know about, which is reached via the changing rooms, which have sauna, steam and cold rooms. On deck 4 are the final public areas, with the main part of the Constellation Theatre, a set of rather fancy shops, a decent sized casino, plush Grandeur Lounge, which hosts evening live music and dancing, and the large Compass Rose, which is the main dining room. Now, like other ultra-luxury lines, there are guest laundry rooms on several of the decks. There are a wide range of cabins which all have really modern and stylish decor. I like them a lot. On this trip, I'd actually booked for the very first time a penthouse, though usually I would just book a standard veranda or concierge suite on a Regent ship. I also got to view a grand suite that some people that we met on the cruise were staying in, which was huge, enormous and rather spectacular. The ships are stunning and among the best in cruising for sure. Now, I want to move on to what I think that Regent does the same as other ultra luxury lines, because there's a lot of these. While dining on board is excellent, I'm not sure that it is better than the other ultra luxury lines. Let me talk about what the options are, all of which are included within the fare, so that's a big plus. The main dining room is the Compass Rose. It's open for breakfast and for dinner. Theoretically, you don't have your own table, but I found that if you really want a regular table and go roughly the same time every day, the maitre d' can make it happen if you actually request it. Now, we really want our own table, and we pretty much had the same table, the one next to it, for almost every single meal. The menus are a decent size. They're comparable though with other ultra luxury lines. The food was good. I don't think it was that differentiated or elevated compared to those other lines though, but it was pretty good food. The dinner menu had a huge standard item section, which stayed the same. Then daily changing options. They had spa options, they had vegetarian options. Good and tasty overall, like the food. We liked Compass Rose. We ate in here actually a lot. In fact, we liked it so much we went to speciality a little bit less. I'll talk later about where I think dining, though, falls from what I consider the gold standard in luxury dining, because that is really important. Anyway, the next main venue is La Veranda, the breakfast and lunch buffet restaurant. It has varied lunch themes, Mexican, Italian, seafood, and so on. You can take daily pasta orders from a pasta station. You can order things like hamburgers. It's a decent choice for the size ship, good quality buffet. The tables have tablecloths on, fully laid out with cutlery and glasses. So I think it gives a sense of feeling luxurious as a buffet restaurant. In the evening, though, this venue becomes Seti Mari, a Regent signature. It's a waiter-served Italian restaurant. You don't have to make a reservation for this. It has a great and expansive menu. In fact, probably too much on the menu. On other Regent cruises, it was so popular that I needed to get there before it opened if I wanted to get a seat, or I needed to go kind of much later in the evening. On this particular trip, it wasn't that busy, so we actually went there a couple of times. Close by La Veranda is the outdoor pool grill. The place at lunch for great burgers and hot dogs, and they do have a setup kind of for a healthy option breakfast that starts quite early. It's not open in the evenings, meaning there's no informal or casual dining venue for dinner, which I actually really missed. But much to my disappointment, the ultra luxury competition doesn't tend to have informal dining venues in the evening either. There are 3 included specialty restaurants. You can get 1 booking in each of them during a cruise, although the high-end cabins don't have that limit. You can, though, also ask during the cruise to make more bookings, which actually seemed pretty possible to do. There is Prime 7, which, like many cruise lines have, is a steakhouse. It's a nice venue, very classic steakhouse menu, and it's pretty good. But I'm not sure there's anything that really sets it aside from other good steakhouses on ships. Next is the French restaurant Chartreuse. I'm not a big fan of French food. I like the venue. Menu was decent, but it wasn't one of my favorites. But others seemed to enjoy it. People, I guess, you like French food. The best part for me was the large petit fours trolley at the end of the meal. Amazing. The third and my favorite specialty is Pacific Rim. This is an Asian fusion restaurant with a stunning menu and diverse and tasty food from the region. This is the most impressive of all the specialty restaurants for me. Now, one thing I see as a weak point across all the restaurants is actually desserts. They are overall pretty average, which is surprising because Regent actually do one of the best afternoon teas at sea. So there's kind of a disconnect there. Afternoon tea is offered daily in the Meridian Lounge. Many days it has a theme like cupcakes. We were on a Christmas cruise, so we had a seasonal themed one. Afternoon tea, they do better than the other competition, in my view. Like those other lines, though, included in the fare is room service. It's got a good standard menu and also the ability to order anything off any of the menus of any of the open restaurants at ordering time, which is great. Now, unlike Silversea and Seabourn, caviar is not offered as kind of standard unlimited on Regent. Every Sunday there is a caviar breakfast. They did run an added charge caviar and champagne event once on the trip. Another thing which they do different to some of the other ultra luxury lines is you only get a butler in the highest grade cabins, unlike Silversea and Crystal, which have them in all cabins. Another thing Regent basically does the same as other ultra luxury lines, in my opinion, is the daily program and activities. It's a little bit on the light side, which is also true though for other ultra luxury lines because of the fewer passengers on board and limited entertainment crew. The entertainment team is the cruise director, assistant cruise director, social hostess, and then the theatre singers and dancers who help run activities. Now, the daily program included things like hosted shuffleboard, hosted bago, golf, putting competitions, daily trivia, crossword puzzles, bingo, art scavenger hunt, and things like that, where in most cases passengers could collect points to redeem for merchandise. Trivia, of course, hugely popular. They had bridge classes run by experts. They had no added charge fitness classes, and those added charge and always sold out culinary cooking classes. They also had 3 enrichment speakers, which I will come back to later because I have some issues on what Regent do here. Now, let me talk entertainment overall. There's some good and bad things in here too. Being part of the Norwegian Cruise Line Group, I always expect Regent to have great entertainment because it's one thing that the Norwegian group generally do really, really well. I have to say, I do see though some improvement from past Regent trips with more on the way, meaning I do think they are starting to edge above the competition when it comes to entertainment in the theatre. The shows on Grandeur and those announced and rolling out on the other ships are kind of more themed with more storytelling, way more contemporary music at last, really slick dancing, and a large, especially for the ship size, cast. 4 singers, 8 dancers, and a 7-piece band. The band, by the way, also playing evening music sets in the lounges. The shows on Grandeur included Ignite the Night, Marauders Ball, Passion One Night in Buenos Aires, Icons, Broadway Unplugged, those kinds of themed shows. Additional live music, by the way, in the lounges was provided by a singing duo and a pianist, and were very popular. A weaker area for me was the guest entertainers. They're pretty usual bookings from the standard cruise entertainer circuit that I found on other lines in any kind of category. Regent Seven Seas have some crew-based entertainment as standards like the Crew Capers Talent Show, and on longer cruises like the one I was on, they have a pool deck country fair where each of the departments hosts stalls with challenges for guests to collect raffle tickets. Really good fun, really high energy, and those are really popular standards, if you like. While the overall entertainment is like the other lines, I think, as I mentioned, they have edged up when it comes to the production shows, so very promising there. Regent catered for solo travel as well, and like lines like, say, Silversea, they have a social host a daily meetup with the option of going to dinner together, but like the others, very limited solo deals. Fare levels and inclusions are broadly the same, though there are a couple of things that I really want to note here. They're closest to Silversea overall though, with the time of recording 2 key fares, and fare types do change. Their all-inclusive fare is like Silversea's port to port, and their ultimate all-inclusive fare is like Silversea's door-to-door fare. On both fares included are shore excursions, in theory as many as you can do in a day, of course food, drinks including fine wines and spirits, basic Starlink Wi-Fi, though with a hefty upgrade fee to get streaming Wi-Fi, laundries included, which I absolutely love, and gratuities are included. Now, if you book a concierge suite or above, you also get a 1-night pre-cruise hotel included. Now, the ultimate all-inclusive fare then includes round-trip flights with economy as standard these days, transfers between the airport and the ship, and also to and from your home and the airport. There are some issues though with these inclusions that I do need to talk about, making this a good time to start to talk about what I feel they don't entirely get right. And then where I net it out, based on all the things that they do, whether I think they are better than the others as they claim. Many of the points I'm going to raise are similar ones from my past trips, meaning I'm not sure that these things have really changed. Earlier I said the menus and food were good in the main dining room, but do they offer the best dining in cruising? For me, the gold standard in premium and luxury dining is in Cunard Queen's Grill. Here you have your own table for meals, but it's anytime dining. You have the same waiting staff for all meals. They get to know you phenomenally well. It's all silver service. Meals don't come fully plated, so vegetables are served separately at the table, for example. Lots of dishes are prepared tableside, Dover sole, crepes, Suzettes, and so on. And of course, you can order off menu as much as you want. But the dining experience in the Compass Rose is not like that at all. It's like any regular cruise ship main dining room experience in reality. As I mentioned, you don't necessarily have your own table, so it's hit and miss where you get, which means that the crew, the waiting staff don't get to know you. You often have to wait in line at the entrance to get allocated a table. And because you're shifting tables and the staff are looking after many tables, it does feel a bit busy and it's all a bit frantic, and everything comes pre-plated. The second area that is a bit weak are excursions. Now, because excursions are included within the fare, I think this is bringing now some negatives. The included ones are fine, but in my experience are not always the best option in a port. This was true on many past trips and very much so on this one that I went on. The Grandeur cruise that I was on was a Panama Canal transit from Miami to Los Angeles. Most of the ports are exactly the same as a group cruise that I'm running on Holland America next year. That's a premium, not an ultra-luxury category cruise line. However, the excursions available to purchase and what you can do in port is way more varied and significantly better on those Holland America trip than most of the excursions included on this Regent trip. They clearly are not offering us the best things to do. Now, I assume because they have to work within a budget, the Regent tours have to be a little bit more basic, more limited, and I feel they're squeezing the quality of excursions to stay within that budget. And to do better tours often means going for paid for ones or making your own plans, which I did, for example, on my last trip in Japan. Let me give you an example. In Acapulco, we did the included day in a resort, but the resort was not high-end at all. which of course the line is the food is really average and really poor, but of course you come off a luxury ship. In Costa Rica, we did one of those aerial tramway tours in the rainforest. Compared to other lines where I paid for it, this wasn't as slick. We didn't have a guide on the tramway explaining what we were seeing, and it just didn't have the amount of depth and detail. As I mentioned, when I went to Japan, I was using more paid-for tours to see the best of the places when I went on Regent. So I do think that is an issue. Another area which I do think is an issue, but one that is really easy to address, is enrichment. On this cruise were 3 speakers. They were knowledgeable and accomplished speakers. There was one talking about their lifetime of underwater exploration, another on psychology, another one on language and the development of language. However, for me, it missed. In their new promise, they say destination exploration and immersion will be top notch, the best there is. Excursions are not, and nor is enrichment on this one. We were passing through a region rich in histories, sometimes chaotic history, sometimes dramatic history, incredible geography with rainforests, varied cultures, unfamiliar and less visited ports for many of us, and of course one of the most significant engineering feats ever, the Panama Canal. That's what I wanted to learn about, but did not. Even the one talk on Panama Canal was done by a speaker when it obviously wasn't his area of expertise. It was nowhere nearly as good as any other talk I've had on Panama Canal when I've been through on other lines. There were absolutely no port talks to give us understanding of the history, the sites, or even practical things where we would be docking, the facilities there. I mean, tips for self-exploring, where the nearest ATM is, pharmacy or shops were, which even many premium and value lines do. My other Regent trips were the same, so this was not an exception. I think one of the best things that Regent could do is revamp the enrichment program and link it much more to the excursions and to the destination. So bearing in mind everything I've spoken about, what did I think coming away from this trip? I had a great time, as I always do on Regent. I really do enjoy cruising on Regent 7 Seas. All the ships I've been on have been fantastic, with Grandeur being the most spectacular. The quality of the ship, the dining, the crew and the service is all excellent. However, is it better than everybody else? I'm not sure that it necessarily is. Within this category, for me, Silversea and Crystal are a really close match, and it's hard to say that one is better than the other, and it probably depends a little bit on what things are important to you. But for me, there is something about Regent that makes them an extremely strong contender, and I tend to lean a little bit more to Regent overall in this category. However, if I'm looking at an itinerary that I want to do, and the best timing and ports are on Silversea or Crystal certainly, I would go on either of those. But if Regent really addressed the issue of enrichment and excursions, I think that would edge them even further ahead. Now, if you want to find out why I think and I rate Silversea so highly, join me over this video where I dive into the good and the bad of Silversea. See you over there.